The Banishment. Commander Eliza Reyes stood at the viewport of Earth's first interstellar embassy, watching alien diplomats file out with expressions of disgust on their distinctly non-human faces. The delegation from the Galactic Cooperative Council had just delivered their verdict. Earth was to be quarantined, isolated from all galactic affairs until humanity was deemed culturally and psychologically mature enough for integration. "So that's it then?" asked Dr. Marcus Chen, Earth's chief sinolinguist. "After all our work to establish communication, they're just going to lock us in our own solar system like children sent to their room." Reyes sighed, her reflection in the reinforced glass showing the exhaustion of 3 months of failed negotiations. "Apparently, we're too unpredictable, too aggressive, too human." The last council representative, a towering Varillian with translucent skin that revealed the shadowy movement of its triple-lobed brain, paused at the exit. Ambassador Gtorthal turned its eye stalks toward them with what Reyes had learned to recognize as pity. "Your species misunderstands the gift we offer," Exorthal said, its voice a melodious hum through the translator. "Isolation is not punishment, it is protection. For you and for us. And who decides when we're ready to rejoin galactic society?" Reyes challenged. "The Council has existed for 12,000 of your years, Commander. We have guided hundreds of species through their developmental phases. The quarantine beacons will be activated at 600 hours tomorrow. Any attempt to breach them will be considered an act of hostility." With that, the last representative of the most powerful political entity in the known galaxy departed, leaving humanity alone with a bitter revelation. The stars they had finally reached were being placed firmly out of bounds. 3 hours later, in the underground war room beneath the New Geneva Earth Alliance headquarters, the atmosphere was electric with rage and determination. World leaders and military commanders from every nation looked on as President Sofia Alvarez delivered what would become known as the Phoenix Declaration. "They expect us to accept this imprisonment meekly," she said, her voice steady despite the storm in her eyes. "They expect us to sit quietly in our cosmic corner until we've learned to behave according to their standards. But if human history has taught us anything, it's that telling humans they can't do something is the surest way to ensure they will." General Wei Zong slammed his fist on the table. "The arrogance. They've barricaded us with technology centuries beyond our own. These quarantine beacons create an impenetrable barrier around our entire solar system. Breaking through would require—" "Understanding how they work," interrupted Dr. Aisha Okafor, Earth's foremost physicist. She stood, commanding the room with quiet confidence. "And that, colleagues, is precisely what I intend to do." President Alvarez nodded. "The Council believes they're locking us away, but they've merely given us a challenge. From this moment, Earth operates under Operation Phoenix. We will rebuild, we will advance, and when the time comes, we will emerge from our isolation stronger than they could possibly imagine." The resolution was unanimous. In the face of cosmic rejection, humanity found something that had eluded them for millennia: unity. 5 years passed. To any watching eyes of the Galactic Council, Earth appeared to have accepted its fate. The occasional probe tested the boundaries of the quarantine field, confirming its continued functionality, but otherwise, human activity seemed contained and resigned. What the Council's monitoring systems couldn't detect was happening beneath the surface, literally. In vast underground complexes and underwater facilities, humanity worked with single-minded purpose. Dr. Okafor stood in the control room of the Mariana Deep Science installation, where the crushing ocean pressure above provided perfect camouflage from orbital scans. Before her, a quarantine beacon, salvaged at great cost, lay dissected, its secrets gradually yielding to human ingenuity. "It's brilliant, really," she explained to the visiting President Alvarez. "The beacons don't just create a barrier, they exist in a state of quantum entanglement with each other. That's why they can form a seamless network." "Can we disable them?" asked Alvarez. Okafor smiled. "Better, we can mimic them. The Council relies on their technological superiority, but they've become complacent. They designed these beacons to keep us in, not to prevent someone from creating similar technology. We've reverse-engineered the core principles and improved upon them. On a holographic display, she showed the president their prototype, whisper drives, propulsion systems that could navigate between the quantum frequencies of the barrier. They'll still detect conventional ships attempting to break the quarantine, Okafor continued, but vessels equipped with whisper technology will slip between the cracks in their supposedly perfect system. How soon? 6 months for the first scout ship, 3 years for a fleet. President Alvarez turned to General Zhang. And our other projects. Proceeding ahead of schedule, he reported. The Mars and Luna shipyards are at full capacity. Sarah's mining operations have extracted enough resources to begin construction of deep space habitats, and Project Echo is ready for deployment. Project Echo, humanity's insurance policy. If the Council ever discovered their deception, thousands of stealth seed ships would launch simultaneously, each carrying everything needed to establish self-sufficient human colonies beyond the quarantine. Good, Alvarez said. Begin preparations for Operation Starfall. 8 years into Earth's exile, the first human vessel slipped undetected through the quarantine barrier. The DSV Pathfinder, crewed by 12 of Earth's finest, emerged into truly open space, the first humans to journey beyond the Council's boundaries. Commander Reyes, now bearing the gray at her temples that came with leading humanity's secret space program, addressed her crew as they prepared for their historic mission. What we do today changes everything, she said. We are explorers, yes, but also scouts for humanity's future. The Council believes they've contained us, teaching us a lesson in humility. Today we begin teaching them a lesson about underestimating humans. Their mission was clear. Establish humanity's first extrasolar outpost in the shadow of a dead moon orbiting a red dwarf star, 30 light-years from Earth and well outside regular Council patrol routes. There, they would construct Bastion 1, the first node in humanity's covered interstellar network. As the Pathfinder engaged its conventional engines, having safely cleared the barrier using the whisper drive, Commander Rice allowed herself a moment of reflection. The Council had meant to stifle humanity's reach for the stars. Instead, they had forced humans to develop technologies and strategies they might never have considered otherwise. Preparing for quantum jump, announced the navigation officer. Coordinates locked for the Ta City system. Reyes nodded. Engage. The stars stretched in space, folded as the Pathfinder disappeared into the darkness, carrying with it the first seeds of humanity's silent rebellion. 12 years after the quarantine began, humanity's hidden empire was taking shape. 7 extrasolar outposts had been established, each carefully hidden from Council detection. Bastion 1 had grown from a simple outpost to a small colony of engineers and scientists, developing the next generation of stealth technologies. In the Epsilon Eridani system, the mining facility known as Forge worked continuously, extracting resources from a metal-rich asteroid belt. At Bastion 3, orbiting Ta City, the first shipyard beyond Sol was producing vessels designed never to dock at Earth, ships that would extend humanity's reach without ever crossing the quarantine barrier. On Earth, the public knew only what they needed to, that humanity was working toward eventual raid mission to galactic society. The truth that Earth had already broken free of its cosmic cage remained known only to those directly involved in Operation Phoenix. Director Julian Mbeki of Earth Intelligence stood before the Phoenix Council, the secret governing body overseeing humanity's expansion beyond the quarantine. Our surveillance has confirmed what we suspected, he reported. The Council's monitoring of Earth has decreased by approximately 60% over the past 5 years. They're confident in their technology and believe we've accepted our place. Their mistake, remarked Admiral Helena Vasquez, head of the growing human fleet. The latest whisper ships can pass directly through their regular patrol routes without detection. Our scouts have mapped significant portions of Council space, including the locations of 12-member homeworlds. President Carlos Rivera, Alvarez's successor, studied the holographic display showing the extent of humanity's secret expansion. And what have we learned about the Council itself? Dr. Chen, who had dedicated years to studying intercepted Council communications, stepped forward. The Galactic Cooperative Council isn't as unified as they presented themselves. There are 17 primary species, but they're divided into factions. The dominant members, the Virillians, the Shrike Collective, and the Meridian Conclave, effectively control Council policy. And the others, dissatisfied in many cases, particularly the newer members who feel their concerns are routinely ignored. There's potential for alliances should we ever reveal ourselves. Rivera nodded thoughtfully. And the quarantine technology, could they contain other species this way? Not currently in use elsewhere, Admiral Vasquez confirmed. But the capability exists. The implication is clear. Any species that doesn't conform to Council standards faces potential isolation. Then we prepare for the next phase, Rivera decided. Accelerate production at all off-Earth facilities, increase recruitment for colonial operations, and launch Project Handshake. Project Handshake, humanity's first attempt to make covert contact with non-Council species who might be sympathetic to Earth's situation. It was a gamble, but after 12 years of successful evasion of the Council's notice, humanity was ready to test the diplomatic waters beyond their prison. 20 years, Rivera said, looking at the timeline projected before them. 20 years from the day they locked us away, we'll be ready to reveal ourselves, on our terms, from a position of strength. As the Phoenix Council dispersed to implement their directives, none of them could have anticipated how events would accelerate their timeline, or that the galaxy was about to face a crisis that would bring humanity out of the shadows far sooner than planned. The Reckoning. 20 years to the day after Earth's quarantine began, the Galactic Council gathered for its centennial assembly on Veral Prime. Representatives from all 17 primary member species and dozens of associate members filed into the ancient hall, a structure carved from a single massive crystal that had supposedly fallen from the stars before the Council's founding. High Chancellor Zex Tora of the Virillians, distant descendant of the ambassador who had delivered Earth's sentence, called the assembly to order. The agenda was routine. Trade agreements, territorial disputes, applications for membership from newly spacefaring races. Nothing to suggest this day would mark a fundamental shift in the galaxy's power structure. Until the emergency signal blared. Chancellor, a frantic aide burst into the chamber. Long-range sensors have detected a void fracture emerging in the Antares sector. The chamber erupted in panic. Void fractures, tears in the fabric of spacetime that leaked destructive anti-energy into normal space, were theoretical calamities that Council scientists had speculated about but never observed. If one had truly formed, entire star systems could be obliterated before a response could be mounted. Activate the emergency conclave, Zex Tora ordered. Deploy the combined fleet to establish a containment perimeter. As the Council scrambled to respond to this unprecedented threat, none noticed the unassuming human vessel hiding in plain sight at the edge of the Veral system, observing everything. Admiral Helena Vasquez received the transmission aboard the EA's Shadow Dancer, flagship of humanity's Phantom Fleet. The holographic projection showed Captain Maya Wong, commander of their intelligence vessel, in the Veral system. It's confirmed, Admiral. The Council is in complete disarray. Their sensors have detected what they believe is a void fracture in the Antares sector. Vasquez exchanged glances with Science Director Eli Cohen. And our readings. That's the interesting part, Wong continued. Our quantum field detectors don't register a fracture at all. Instead, they show a massive artificial distortion, something generating the same signature as a theoretical void fracture, but controlled. Cohen leaned forward. A weapon? Or a test? Unknown, but it's definitely not a natural phenomenon. And here's the critical information. The Council's containment strategies won't work. Their approach will actually accelerate the expansion of whatever this is. Vasquez made a decision that would alter humanity's carefully constructed timeline. Captain Wong, maintain your position and continue monitoring. I'm contacting Earth immediately. The Council had always considered humanity too aggressive, too unpredictable. Now, those very traits might be what saved the galaxy. The emergency session of the Phoenix Council convened within the hour. President Rivera listened grimly as Admiral Vasquez and Director Cohen presented their findings. We've analyzed all available data, Cohen explained. What the Council is detecting is artificial, a controlled quantum disruption designed to mimic a void fracture. Our simulations indicate it will expand exponentially, potentially consuming entire sectors within weeks. They're planned containment measures. Rivera asked. Worse than useless, Vasquez replied. Their approach will feed energy into the disruption, accelerating its growth by approximately 300%. Dr. Okafor, now in her 70s, but still Earth's leading physicist, spoke up. We can neutralize it. The quantum resonance principles we developed for the Whisper Drive can be inverted to create a dampening field, but implementation would require revealing ourselves, finished Rivera. After 20 years of secrecy, General John, his hair now white, but his spine still straight as a rail, grunted. Perfect timing. Our fleet is at 87% of planned capacity. Colonial infrastructure is self-sustaining. If we must come out of hiding, we do so from a position of considerable strength. Rivera considered for long moments before speaking. Prepare the revelation protocol. Admiral Vasquez, assemble the Phantom Fleet. Dr. Okafor, ready your countermeasure technology for deployment. We're about to reintroduce humanity to the galactic stage. On Vero Prime, the Council's emergency session had devolved into chaos. Early attempts to contain the void fracture had failed catastrophically, accelerating its expansion. 3 minor systems had already been evacuated, their planets abandoned to the approaching wave of destruction. Our most advanced models give us perhaps 2 standard weeks before the fracture reaches Meridian space, reported the science minister of the Meridian Conclave, her typically melodious voice strained with fear. From there, core Council worlds would be at risk within a month. High Chancellor Zex Torre had aged visibly in the 3 days since the crisis began. Continue evacuation efforts. Divert all available resources to research. There must be a solution. The Council Chamber's communication system activated without authorization. On the massive central display appeared a human face, older, distinguished, with the quiet confidence of authority. Greetings, High Chancellor, esteemed representatives of the Galactic Council. I am Carlos Rivera, President of the Earth Alliance. We've been monitoring your situation and believe we can help. Stunned silence gripped the chamber before erupting into outrage. How is this possible? Demanded Zex Torre. Earth is quarantined. Their communications cannot penetrate the barrier. The human smiled thinly. About that quarantine. It hasn't been quite as effective as you believed. But that's a discussion for another time. What matters now is that we have the technology to neutralize what you're calling a void fracture. Impossible, declared the Shrike Collective representative. Our most advanced scientists are working with incomplete understanding of quantum field dynamics, Rivera interrupted. We've been developing these technologies for specific purposes over the past 20 years. Neutralizing this threat is within our capabilities. Zex Torre studied the human with narrowed eye stalks. If what you claim is true, why would you help us? We isolated your species. Because despite what you believe about humanity, we don't wish to see innocent worlds destroyed. We're transmitting coordinates now. In 12 hours, representatives of the Earth Alliance will meet with the Council to discuss our assistance. I suggest you be there, Chancellor. The transmission ended, leaving the Council chamber in stunned silence. The coordinates led to an unremarkable system just beyond Council space. As the Council delegation's ship dropped out of FTL, they were greeted by a sight none of them had expected. A fleet of over 300 vessels of unmistakably human design, arranged in perfect formation around a massive station that didn't appear on any council charts. Outpost Omega welcomes the representatives of the Galactic Council, came the transmission. You are cleared to dock at Bay 12. Inside the station, the council delegation, led by Zex Tora himself, was escorted to a conference room where President Rivera waited alongside his military and scientific leadership. You've been busy for a quarantined species, Zex Tora observed dryly. Rivera smiled. Your barrier was impressive technology, Chancellor. It took us nearly 5 years to develop a way through it. We've spent the subsequent 15 years establishing a presence beyond your notice. How extensive is this presence? Asked the Meridian representative cautiously. Admiral Vasquez activated a holographic display. The Earth Alliance currently maintains 27 colonies across 18 star systems, with mining operations in an additional 34. Our fleet comprises over 500 vessels of various classes, none of which have ever entered Earth's solar system since their construction. The Council representatives stared in disbelief at the map, showing humanity's secret empire, built right under their notice. Why reveal yourselves now? Zex Tora asked. Dr. Okafor stepped forward. Because what you're facing isn't a natural phenomenon, and your attempts to contain it will only make it worse. We've developed technology that can neutralize it, but deployment requires council cooperation. And what do you want in return? The Shrike representative's tone was suspicious. Recognition, Rivera said simply. The Earth Alliance to be acknowledged as a sovereign power, independent of council authority. The quarantine to be officially lifted. And a seat at the galactic table, not as supplicants, but as equals. Zex Tora's eye stalks swiveled to each of his fellow representatives before returning to Rivera. You understand this would be unprecedented. So is a species escaping your quarantine and building an interstellar nation without detection, Rivera countered. The galaxy is changing, Chancellor. The question is whether the Council will change with it. 3 days later, a combined fleet of Council and Earth Alliance vessels surrounded the expanding quantum disruption. At its heart, Earth's advanced science vessel Phoenix deployed Dr. Okafor's resonance inverter, a massive device that generated precisely calibrated quantum fields to neutralize the artificial distortion. Aboard the command ship, Admiral Vasquez and Chancellor Zex Tora watched the operation unfold. Your scientists were correct, Zex Tora admitted as readings showed the disruption beginning to collapse. Our approach would have been catastrophic. Different perspectives lead to different solutions, Vasquez replied diplomatically, something the Council might consider in its future deliberations. You realize this changes everything, Zex Tora said quietly. The balance of power that has existed for millennia needed changing. Vasquez finished for him. No civilization remains vital without challenge, Chancellor. Perhaps humanity's role in the galaxy is to provide that challenge. As the quantum disruption collapsed entirely, cheers erupted throughout both fleets. In that moment of shared triumph, the first genuine bond between humanity and the Council was formed. 1 month later, in a ceremony broadcast across Council space and throughout the Earth Alliance, the quarantine beacons around Earth's solar system were officially deactivated. President Rivera and High Chancellor Zex Tora signed the Concordat of Recognition, formally acknowledging the Earth Alliance as a sovereign interstellar power. Today marks not an ending, but a beginning, Rivera declared to the assembled dignitaries. 20 years ago, the Council judged humanity unready for the stars. In our isolation, we proved them wrong, not through anger or resentment, but through perseverance, ingenuity, and determination. The Council acknowledges its misjudgment. Zex Tora responded, surprising many with the admission. In our 12,000 years of guiding species to maturity, we have never encountered one quite like humanity. Perhaps it is we who had something to learn. As the ceremony concluded, Dr. Okafor stood at a viewport, gazing at the stars now truly open to humanity. Was it worth it? Asked Commander Reyes, now Admiral Reyes, joining her. All those years of secrecy and struggle. Okafor smiled. They tried to contain us, to mold us into something that fit their understanding of civilization. Instead, they forced us to become something new, something stronger. And the disruption. We never discovered who created it. No, Okafor admitted. But whoever they are, they now know that humanity is a force to be reckoned with. Across the galaxy, as news of Earth's revelation spread, other species watched with interest. Some with fear, others with hope. The Council's unquestioned authority had been challenged. The careful balance of power had shifted. And humanity, once deemed too unpredictable for the galactic community, had proven that very unpredictability to be their greatest strength. The exile intended to contain them had instead forged them into a power that would reshape the stars.